Yep, I think we're live. So hello everyone and welcome to PARSIQ Live AMA. We will be doing these on a regular basis, so maybe once every 2 weeks. And we'll also have some guests from the team, not just myself. So hoping to see you a couple of times a month at least. And I'll do my best to answer any questions and provide some updates on the project and our progress when I can. So let's start. Any updated information relating to whether PARSIQ will be doing anything interesting with Facebook? Well, obviously I cannot comment on this one because we currently cannot disclose such information. So a very often asked question: can we expect a tier 1 centralized exchange listing this year? This has been asked like 1,000 times maybe, and all I can say is that we are in direct contact with a number of tier 1 exchanges. We're going through all the process, so sooner or later we will be listed. No hard dates, but the work is ongoing. Every exchange has they have their own requirements of what they need to see or what progress they need to be shown, what kind of documents provided to get listed, and it varies from exchange to exchange. It's all in progress. We're in talks with almost every major tier 1 exchange, so it will happen. Just no timeline as of yet. We'll also be pursuing exchange listings on that may be not considered tier 1, but are still very big in terms of volumes and user base very soon. So next question, how do you view Covalent's offerings? Do you see them as potential competitors? It's similar like with the graph. There is some overlap because all three are blockchain data projects, and we will also be providing a certain service that allows people to get access to historical blockchain data. But I'd say there's more room for like collaboration and integration than direct competition. Some of the features might compete, but the offering as a whole will be different because still our focus is real-time triggers and automated workflows. And even when we push historical data live, it will work a bit differently. Some of which you haven't seen our updated roadmap yet, but some of the things we have planned is to allow to make snapshots and run calculations on historical data. And this is a feature I don't believe anyone else provides. So if you've been following the different hack scenarios, like with Bondly, with Paid Network, with the Qcoin projects, we've used our technology to take snapshots and run calculations of people who might have traded the token after the snapshot, who lost money on it, who earned money on it. And with these product rollouts, we will be giving users and projects the opportunity with just 3 lines of code to run these scripts and take these snapshots, run this calculation, not just for hacks, but for anything, for DeFi pools, very easily, without needing infrastructure, without having to develop any kind of solutions. So I don't think anyone else offers this. It's like a self-serve platform. So let's take next question. Will there be an updated user interface for IQ protocol? For such a powerful system under the hood, it's a very simple web page without much information. Absolutely. So we're working on a landing page with more information. It's going to have its own community, documentations page, social media accounts, and the app itself will, like we've said, this is a mainnet beta with just one renting pool. But imagine if by October, November, there will be more than 20 different projects deploying renting pools, and the UI will evolve a lot this year. I mean, IQ protocol will be a DeFi platform of its own. In fact, I think sometime in the future, we will give the operations over the protocol over to a community DAO. When do you expect the borrowing side of IQ protocol to go live? It is ready. It is ready in the staging environment. We will push it live next week. We're just making some additional content, some explainers, some documents for the borrowing side. It's gonna be great, because this is, as far as I know, the first trustless decentralized subscription in the space. So I think we'll make an event of it. Could you see PRQ integrating with the Terra ecosystem in the future? Absolutely. We know the Terra team. We have good relationship with them. We've already discussed adding support for their network, and I think seeing the adoption rate of Terra, it makes sense to support the network in the future. Maybe not in the next few months, but Q1 next year, for example. Let's take the next question. Hey, Tom, great to see you guys shaking up how these AMAs are done. Thank you, Ryan. Any updates on liquidity increases for PancakeSwap and migrating the PRQ boost benefits to UniV3? It's a work in progress. We will be integrating PancakeSwap with IQ protocol so that the borrowing fees or the subscription fees could be paid in any asset that PancakeSwap supports, and the swapping is done in a decentralized manner automatically. So before we push it live, we obviously need to increase the liquidity, because otherwise it could be quite expensive for people. I don't have an exact timeline, but we're talking next few weeks probably. UniV3, we are already testing how the liquidity works there, because it's different. Anatoly found that it might be possible to provide better liquidity with less assets necessary than on V2. I'll keep you posted on that one. Are there any plans for PARSIQ NFTs? Yeah, well, we have a few ideas. Nothing specific yet. But in terms of, in general, the NFT market, we have put on the roadmap to do a version of the IQ protocol for non-fungible tokens. What does it mean? That means that any person owning an NFT, CryptoPunks, Axes, Mooncats, anything, can actually put them on rent on the marketplace and request a fee for renting them out. And people can use them, play around with them, for example, in-game assets, and such. I think this would be quite a popular feature. This is next step after we push the next version of the IQ protocol live, but I think it's a great use case. When is IQ planning to go to ETH network? So with ETH, there's an issue with the fees. Not everyone holds a big amount of PRQ tokens in the protocol. So that means these fees for withdrawing or depositing or adding, they can eat up all the profits. It's not really feasible right now. We're looking into the London upgrade and checking the roadmap when the fees can actually be better. but I think there's a bigger possibility that we will launch on a good layer 2 solution like Arbitrum. So we're researching that extensively. But meanwhile, if anyone wants to rent out or provide liquidity via PRQ on the IQ protocol and is not doing it because they're waiting for ETH, I would tell you that go ahead and do it, because we don't have an exact timeline for ETH or ETH layer 2. And we are actually planning some serious incentive programs for people staking their PRQ in the protocol right now for early adopters. How much interest is there to use IQ protocol from other projects in the scene? Quite a lot. It may not be for everyone. We've heard responses where projects say this is fresh, this is innovative, this is great, very clever model, but they're afraid to use it because it's experimental. No one has done it before yet. But we have projects with existing tokens that want to increase the utility of the token, and we have quite a few in line, like around 20 projects right now who want to deploy the renting pools. We've had interest from non-crypto companies, from traditional companies who wish to issue a token but don't know how to model the tokenomics, and IQ piqued their interest. So quite a lot of interest, and everyone appreciates the innovation, but obviously it has to prove itself. So we need to show a few killer use cases and that they work. And I think we will see in the future a lot of adoption. I see market for auto trigger and database for public addresses on roadmap. So the database for public addresses means that right now the platform works that you have to upload or enter any address of interest, smart contract addresses, ETH addresses, any blockchain addresses, any monitoring targets. But we will have a selection of, let's say, interesting monitoring artifacts, like exchange wallets, like whales, like addresses involved in hacks, like stolen funds and such, addresses belonging to individuals well known in the crypto space. And you can actually choose something interesting from there to monitor. This is the main idea. So you don't have to go look up something. You have a good selection of a big database of artifacts to monitor that might be of interest. Hello, Tom. Can we have some information regarding the new platform feature that has been mentioned? So the platform feature will go live today. It's quite developer focused for the developers and projects, but it's a great addition and a great value add for many of our existing and future clients and users. Stay tuned. You'll get more information very soon. So where are our priorities? What products do we focus on? What do we want to complete first? Right now, it's a bit of a split between the PARSIQ platform and IQ protocol. So we're trying to hire people as fast as possible to be able to move forward with both ASAP. For IQ protocol, we need to do the next version, the next iteration that will have a lot of more features. We need to flesh out the GitHub code, the SDK, so that other projects can be easily onboarded. They can deploy their renting pools. They can implement decentralized subscriptions on their off-chain platforms, on their off-chain goods or services. this is the goal, and we're planning to support more networks for IQ. Like I said, either ETH or a layer 2 ETH solution like Arbitrum, and we will be creating a version on the Solana blockchain at some point, and we'll be creating a version for NFTs as well, as was mentioned before. And for the platform, we have an extensive roadmap. We'll try to publish it within the next few weeks. A lot of new features, a lot of new interesting concepts there. Like I mentioned, the snapshot technology for running calculations, taking snapshots of balances for a certain block or from one block to another. In addition, we had an idea of creating an explorer based on the historical data that we have. And the explorer would be different from something like IQscan. It will be multi-blockchain, and it will have monitoring and trigger functions built into the explorer, so you can put something under monitoring with one click. And of course, I don't know if you've ever tracked stuff on IQscan, but you can have like 50 tabs open because you click on each transaction hash on each wallet, and we'll make this much easier. You can do it all in one tab. You can cross-correlate addresses with each other. So I think it will be a good addition. And we have more stuff coming that I cannot mention right now. Hopefully we can put it all in the updated roadmap. Are there lots of customers clamoring to use PARSIQ? Is there a good product market fit for PARSIQ? Yes, there is. I think the product has been validated by the market. Product fit has been reached. The only thing that is not, it's not perfect is that we do a lot of things. I've seen startups who do one thing, very simple thing, but they do it very well, and they're successful at this. And we have like literally hundreds of use cases. So our focus is split, and we cannot improve the user experience, the client experience for each one of them immediately. And this is something we're working on. It's prioritization of these use cases. And we'll be doing a completely new UI UX that will simplify everything. A new version of PARSIQL that will allow far more than the current one does, and other updates. Do you think retrospective, reverse triggers, and public marketplace will be done by end of 2021? So yeah, historical data, we already have it. Now it's just a matter of providing access, figuring out what is the most convenient way to give it to the users. So this is definitely coming this year. Public marketplace, we are already working on what we call smart templates, which is like a database of different use case templates, ready-made templates that you can use or you can fork and modify. And the next step after that will be giving the ability for other users to put more templates on the marketplace. For reverse triggers, there are things that are related to Ncase, like the MPC, multi-party computation, and where to store the private keys, and so on and so forth. So I don't have an exact timeline for reverse triggers yet, but they are coming. We've had a lot of requests from clients using us right now that they would like to automate transaction execution using PARSIQ. So how do you come to the calculation that revenue will 3x every year? And for how many years may that last? So usually it's 3 to 5 years like this until it gets lower than 3x every year on year. But This is usually how growth startups, relatively successful growth startups, operate. But considering the crypto market and how it can grow exponentially, the number could be bigger. So we'll just have to wait and see. I mean, I remember a couple of years ago, no one understood why should I monitor anything on the blockchain. So the space is just changing so fast. Now people absolutely understand the value of PARSIQ, and we've evolved the product into so much more within this time. Just go to Solana. Yep, that's planned. That's gonna be done. So, interest from non-crypto for IQ is nice. Yeah, it's there is interest. It's gonna be a tough sell at first because this is how traditional companies operate. They might be interested, but it's gonna be difficult for them to move fast. So we'll start with crypto companies with either already launched tokens or who will launch tokens, and then move to more traditional companies. So like it can be really anything from fitness apps to SaaS, and so this is all part of our BD initiative. I'm gonna skip some questions that have been answered before. Has PRQ talked with Aave to find a common use case into IQ? No, not yet, but we know the Aave team. We know Stani, the Aave CEO, and we will be reaching out to not only him, but multiple DeFi CEOs for potential collaboration and common use cases. Solana is about to have its own DEX. Any plans on listing there? I know that Solana has multiple DEXs. Some of them are live already, like Radium, and sure, why not? We'd be open to bridge the token to the Solana blockchain and list on a good DEX. So maybe we should do a poll in the community. If the community thinks it's a good idea, let's do it. So, what are the teams with developing public projects, and what's the progress on PARSIQL 2.0? So PARSIQL 2.0 is there's a lot of progress. The new version of the language will allow so much more. For example, just a simple example, you'll be able to write triggers that not only monitor certain addresses, but they can monitor the flow of money. So, for example, if the funds move to a next address, automatically the trigger will start monitoring those addresses, and then they flow into 10 different addresses, and the trigger will start monitoring those. So it can follow the flow and notify you and deliver all this data to you in real time. That's just a simple example, but you can also run much more complex calculation with that language. And once it's ready, we'll do some very heavy marketing towards developers. We want to build a robust developer community, an active Discord group, to run hackathons by ourselves and with some of these layer one chain partners we have, and do grant programs and much more. So developers will be a core focus this year and next year. Who's the guy in the painting behind you? Well, this is General Anatoly Resin. So maybe we can have him over for one of the next AMAs. But then it's going to be a long AMA. So make sure you reserve enough time. Are more exchanges listing PRQ for more volume? Yes, exchange listings are planned. A lot of them are in application or review process. Some are farther than that because we have clear feedback on what we need to do to get listed. And there are some new ones that we are considering very soon. So what non-crypto sector are you targeting first? Entertainment and gaming are two very good ones, but it could be literally like a traditional SaaS market, entertainment subscriptions. There's just so many possibilities. Even a restaurant can theoretically use IQ protocol. Will there be an IQscan project to showcase the protocol's usage, TVL, and borrows for all partner projects? So obviously we'll be calculating the TVL for each renting pool individually and for the whole protocol as a whole. And yeah, there will be metrics. I don't think it requires like a separate website like IQscan, but it will be visible on the IQ protocol landing page. What has Evan Chang's role been so far in the team? So Evan Chang is our advisor. He's also an investor in the project. He advises mostly on technical and product related, a little bit of go-to-market as well. So he everything starting from UI, UX, and ending with the language. He's been advising us. Also, technical presentations. Really, all, let's say, higher level technical issues he's advising on. Do you actively pursue partnerships and integrations, or have partnerships integrations mostly been the result of being approached by third parties? So it started like this, that we pursued the integrations. Like a year ago, 2 years ago, we had to pursue every integration by ourselves. It wasn't easy. But now it's different. Now usually projects come to us because the word of mouth on the market is relatively good around PARSIQ, and we don't have to do as much outreach, but we're still doing it because we want relationships with most high potential and legitimate projects in this space. Any updates on Superfarm using PRQ services? This is something that you should keep an eye out on. I think we'll have more information on this in the coming months. Do you need to wait for DM to come out officially to integrate their blockchain? Or do you have some exclusive access? We've spoken to the DM team multiple times throughout the year, so we do not have any exclusive access. And currently the testnet is live, so we'll see. I cannot comment on this more thoroughly. Just have to wait and see. So, why do you think public awareness around PARSIQ has not been high? You're correct that PARSIQ is a very technical project, not easy for the crypto community, the general crypto community to understand. But the goal is to be the best at what we do, and I guess retail adoption. It is more simple to market something like DeFi because users can directly interact with it. And our product is B2D and B2B oriented, so the users don't usually interact with it directly, at least not as much as many retail-oriented products. But I think setting the industry standard and showing the adoption among developers and companies, it will eventually bring awareness from the retail sector as well. Any news regarding more inroads into China activities in the Chinese market? So we are still building the community there. It's slowly growing. Our official WeChat and Weibo channels and some content that we're publishing or third-party media publications are doing. But we are not doing it too aggressively because of the situation in China. We're sort of seeing how the market reacts before turning it up a notch. How are the plans for IQ being on CoinMetro? Again, no specific hard dates because the pipeline is just so chock full of priorities that need to be delivered. But we haven't forgotten about this. We will get to it. Yeah, I think there seem to be a lot of questions that, let me just grab a few other ones that, yeah. Can you tell us about Anatoly's story about fixing an issue very fast that couldn't be fixed by Graph protocol? I am not aware of such a situation. So the Graph and PARSIQ are made for different use cases. So we've had multiple partners and clients say that one is better for a certain use case than the other. So let's see. What has been Deanna's role with the team been so far? Any specifics on future marketing plans that you're able to share? So Deanna specializes in growth marketing. She's been Dropbox and Wealthfront, which are both customer acquisition machines. And she's been the global marketing lead at Dropbox. And she has such a wealth of experience that she's sharing with us. She's helping it with building messaging, building content, figuring out the marketing plan. She's very involved on a daily basis. So, but it is focused on customer acquisition, user acquisition, rather than let's say retail crypto community awareness. For this, we have other plans to ramp up marketing since today, basically. You make a funny example that even a restaurant could use IQ. How? Well, think of it this way: if tokenization is the future for the whole financial system and the transfer of value, for example, you want to do a sushi place, a sushi restaurant, and you issue a token. The token will allow you to raise your seed capital or any capital on a global level, tap into global liquidity to finance this business, and you make, for example, a utility token that gives you the right to have one free set of California Makis per week. So what you do is you use the IQ protocol. So token holders who invested in the project for it to be built, for the business to be built, they can not only wait for it to do well and appreciate, they can put the tokens into the protocol and earn income. And the better the company does, the more income they earn, while at the same time people can pay a small fee to basically have one free set of, it's not free because you have to rent the token, of course, but you can have one set of California Makis per week. That's just a general example, but it can be applied to most businesses where you can consume some goods or services over time in certain volume. Let's go on. What is Merkel's role on the team? So I assume you mean Kevin Merkel, the CEO of CoinMetro. He's been advising us since very long ago, almost since the inception of PARSIQ. We did the IEO on his platform. He helped us with some legal documents, agreements, and generally structuring the tokenomics. He's been a very good help, and CoinMetro has been a good partner. Have you heard about Covalent? I think they're trying to compete with the Graph. Yeah, seems those two projects are competitors. We've spoken to Covalent. They have a very nice product. But as I mentioned on one of the earlier questions, there's overlap in certain features regarding historical data, but we're not direct competitors. So, with retrospective triggers, would that give PARSIQ abilities similar to what the Graph can do? So yes and no. Yes, because people would get access to get historical data, like with the Graph, but it would also, the concept is different. So the mechanisms, how this works is different. So with retrospective triggers, it's not stored in a database that can be queried, but you actually send the trigger back in time, for example, to a certain block, a past block, and to parse everything according to your logic, to your filters or thresholds until today. So we replay everything that's happened and deliver this data in a processed, valuable way to you. So it's slightly different. PRQ to $10,000 by December. Well, everything's possible. Has the DAO token discussion concluded? Will PRQ be the governance token, or will there be a new one? So PRQ will eventually give some governance features over PARSIQ, the PARSIQ platform, and possibly the PARSIQ renting pool on IQ to holders. But if you're talking about IQ, it's grown into something much bigger. It's a separate DeFi platform. The goal is to unlock billions in utility value. It is likely that it will one day have its own governance token and will be governed by a community DAO. So that's why I'm saying that if someone wishes to put their PRQ to work in the renting pools but are not doing it because they're waiting for ETH, I would suggest not waiting, because early adopters will very likely be rewarded. When will the marketing start and do visible marketing with results? Depends on what you mean on results, but visibility will be increasing very soon. We are starting with campaigns of this month already and wrapping it up to the end of the year. And that means more social media activity, more media publications. Like I said, we'll be attending events in person and online events. We'll be hosting events. Lots more to look forward to. At any point, will PRQ be a deflationary token in the long term? No plans for this right now, but when we transfer governance to the community, who knows? It's possible. IQ sounds like it can facilitate some kind of sci-fi financial system. Well, I mean, we're seeing a lot of stuff happening with the financial markets, and not just that. I mean, the metaverse, the NFT markets in game. I think so. We think that in the future, people, it's the end of ownership, and subscription-based relationships are prevalent, and people will want to use whatever fungible tokens, non-fungible tokens, for their utility, or for what rights or memberships or access or reputation or whatever they give. And they will be rentable, and hopefully they will all be rentable through IQ protocol, because we'll have a first mover advantage in this part of the DeFi money Lego. So we are really, really excited, and I think the potential has been huge. We've been told by partners and investors that IQ sounds that it's far bigger than PARSIQ. It might be so, because DeFi is more exciting and opens more possibilities, but PARSIQ is the middleware, the infrastructure behind DeFi. So it depends how you look at it. So IQ is like staking your shares of a company for various benefits. Analogy is more or less so. Think of it like you can actually have or share in the project's success. So in a decentralized, trustless way. And so I guess you can say it so, but like I said, projects who deploy renting pools can implement a ratio split between how much of the renting fees go back to the project wallet and how many are distributed to people who provide liquidity or lend. And that ratio could be whatever. It could be 90-10, 50-50. Right now for PRQ, it's around 97% in favor of the holders, of the people providing liquidity. But in an ideal world, governance, there would be governance voting, so that the community or the holders can vote what the split should be, like this year, which is similar to how shareholders vote, like the company earns so much revenue, so let's vote on taking this amount out as dividends and leaving the rest in the company, because the company needs that money to grow and take market share, which will in turn increase the stock price, or should increase the stock price. So the analogy is there with shares and stocks, but this is pure DeFi, and done in a utility token manner, so not securities. Will the use case for PRQ boost diminish as IQ protocol gets bigger? Yeah, I think we will at some point end the PRQ boost program and replace it with a more effective liquidity program. Maybe we can even somehow connect the liquidity in the IQ protocol lending pool to the liquidity in Uniswap. We're still working on that, and Anatoly has some great ideas. But of course, if we're going to end the PRQ boost program, we're going to tell it months in advance. So can you expand on early adopters to IQ protocol on BSC will be rewarded? Yeah, we have an incentive program that we're figuring out and we'll announce soon enough for early adopters. That's one thing. Another thing, if there were to be an IQ protocol token, the governance token, one day, maybe next year, then I think there's a good chance that we would do a drop for early adopters of the protocol. When governance is handed to the community, is each token considered one vote, similar to common shares and stocks? Well, we haven't really figured out the model yet, so that's one option. That's one option, certainly. But yeah, we'll need Anatoly on board to help with these ideas on how governance exactly would work. So what are the most exciting things coming up in the next 6 months? Well, I think I covered the ones that I can't talk about. So it's the progress with the IQ protocol, being able to onboard or for these projects to deploy their own renting pools, increase TVL, all these new versions on other chains for NFTs, and all the product updates for PARSIQ. There are some collaborations on the table with traditional tech companies, not crypto, so that we should be seeing this year, hopefully. And other things I just cannot talk about at this point. How often are you planning to do these AMAs? Is it always going to be you or also other people from the team? So we're planning once every 2 weeks on Thursdays. And I think we'll have guests here like Anatoly, Alan, maybe Simon, who knows, maybe one of the advisors. So it won't be just me. How early is an early adopter when it comes to BSC IQ? Well, let's say if as long as the PRQ renting pool is the only renting pool on the protocol, you're an early adopter for sure. Bring Evan Chang to the CMA, please. I'll ask him for sure. Why not? Let's try, and maybe Diana as well. If she agrees, she could give some great perspective from a person who comes from outside of the blockchain and crypto world. Anyway, guys, I think it's time for me to end this stream. Thank you all for coming. Thanks for the great questions. For the next one will be in 2 weeks, and feel free to prepare your questions, forward them to any of the moderators, or come to the live event and ask here. I'll be happy to answer. Maybe we'll get someone else here. You can maybe you can do a poll who you want with me here next. But thanks for your time, and see you real soon. Have a good weekend, guys.